Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing good. Now, honestly, I'm so excited for this guest because we've been trying for a few weeks to try and sort this out, but we've both been so busy. And I'm really excited to have Sky on. A lot of you will know her from her channel, Sunshine FC. She also does TikTok stuff as well. So, yes, Sky, thank you so much for coming on my channel today. How are you doing?
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. And again, thank you for your patience as well. She's been really trying to get this scheduled and I feel bad. So I'm so happy
Don't
to
worry.
finally be here and I'm excited to talk some football with you and be sure to, like and subscribe to Sophie's channel. And yeah, I'm really excited. It should be fun.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
not the
I'm
United part,
Yeah, I know. As we were saying off air, we're going to chat a bit about United and Arsenal. And if
but
United, didn't have the greatest game against Brighton, so it'll be a bit of a tough one. But yeah, I'm so excited for this. And I just thought we could start off actually by talking about transfer news because obviously the window's closing soon, and I feel like a lot is sort of happening for Arsenal and United. I just wanted to first of all ask you about Sterling because I know that's been going around at the moment. I know at Chelsea he's not really playing, it's just not going well for him. What do you make of him as a player? And I suppose if he came to United, where would he fit in? Would he, because you're at the point where you want to get top four, you want to challenge with us and Man City and Liverpool, but you're not there just yet. Would he change that? Would he help improve the team?
no, I personally
If
don't
you're
think that
honest,
he would.
yeah, yeah,
I think, I mean, he's just a bit older, so it's not someone that there's nothing wrong with that. I think experience does help, but in my humble opinion, I think we need more of a dedicated striker. And if it was a more experienced striker like Ivan Toney, I'd be more acceptable to accepting that. I just
yeah,
feel like with the moves that Ineos has made this summer, bringing Sterling on the team and taking away somebody who I think is good and capable of providing what we need in Jadon Sancho doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately, I think this is happening because I don't think that him and Eric Ten Hag get along. And so that's why I think Jadon Sancho's trying to leave. I think Jadon Sancho's
yeah.
talented. I think that he provides creativity and link up play and all the stuff that we need, but he just will never play under Eric Ten Hag, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
seeing him switch with Sterling would be a terrible decision. Terrible decision.
Yeah, I don't really see it as well. I mean, with Sancho, I don't obviously think that's going to work out either, but I don't think, if you swap them, I don't think it would, yeah, really work out. I mean, I got asked on a video today about would be happy with Sterling at Arsenal, and obviously I wouldn't really see him as a starter, but I think he's a player that needs his confidence back. I know at Man City he was very good. I felt sometimes he would overcomplicate, his touches, and instead of just shooting, he would sort of do that too much. But I do see a good player in him, but I think, yeah, he's just lacking confidence. I think for United right now, you sort of need players that have that confidence and are going to take you to that next level and get you that top four. So, yeah, I don't blame you. I agree. I found it a bit strange, hearing that because I just thought I didn't see it working out. I just wanted to say big up to a few people. Big up to Jez, Arsenal History and More.
Yes.
Please do subscribe. He is an absolute legend.
Hmm.
Big up to AFC always as well. Great to see you here as well. Um, I thought I could just speak a bit about Arsenal in the transfer because today we've actually signed someone. I'm just so happy we've
We
actually
did.
done some business because I think at the moment the transfer window I felt a bit underwhelmed. I've been feeling a bit like if we're going to win a league, now's the time to bring in a striker and the midfielder that we've brought in. And do you know what? I'm happy it's done. I wouldn't really play him in our next game straight away because he's only just got here. I know he might have had a few training sessions, but I don't think I'd play him straight away. But I'm personally really happy that we've signed him, and I think that gives us a bit more confidence as fans as well, thinking that we can win the league. But there's someone that's sort of outside of Arsenal. I just want to get your thoughts a bit about our transfer window, the signings we've made. I know Nketiah as well is going to leave as well, which I think is the right thing on both sides, and I do feel
Hmm.
happy for him. But yeah, just your overall thoughts, I suppose, the ingoings, the outgoings, and everything we've done so far.
Absolutely. I guess, I mean, you have Calafiori, right? That was
Yeah.
one. And then this gentleman plays midfield. I'm not sure much about him, but then honestly, I think in my opinion, I mean, it's great to have depth, which I think you guys need because outside of, your core starters, you needed the depth, which I think is what
Yeah.
you were missing. And that's, I think, what Man City has, and that can help take them to, winning a Prem. So you definitely need the depth. But I genuinely do believe outside of what they've signed, you guys need somebody up front. That's
Yeah.
just something that I think. But, I don't think you've made terrible decisions, but it's just, again, not something that you need, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think with our sort of transfer window, I think, if you asked me the other day, I'd probably rate it quite low. I think, bringing Mourinho in, bumps it up a bit more. Obviously, I'll be honest, I
Mhm.
don't know a lot about him. I always don't watch other leagues, so I'm gonna be interested to see how he does get on. But I think that midfield has needed some improvements for a while because I know Partey, he's very inconsistent with his injuries, and you can't we need players that we can rely on. But I do really agree with you about the striker one. I really want us to do it, but I don't really think we're going to bring in a striker. But for you, your transfer window, obviously you mentioned before you've done actually quite well winning trophies. It's just the league you're struggling to keep that consistency because I remember in the FA Cup you were so much better than Man City, and I
Yeah.
thought if you could do that more in the league, you're going to do good. So I suppose like what have you made of your transfer window and sort of how are you feeling about the season? What would you say your kind of goals are for the season?
Yes, it's a great question. So I'm actually okay with the way things have turned
Yeah,
out as well. I think we've made really good signings, and to me, it's shown that Ineos has kind of really wanted to give Eric Ten Hag what he needs to succeed. We had a lot of injuries last year. We didn't have very good squad depth as well, and so we're definitely acquiring that, which is great. We signed Emmanuel Ugarte as well today, so that's official, which is good.
yeah,
Like Arsenal, I would really like to have a solid striker up front, which we don't necessarily have. Xerxes a little bit more fluid, and I just don't think Rasmus has enough experience to be the starter. But it's okay. I'm hoping that Eric Ten Hag can like find some kind of rhythm there. But
yeah,
transfer window wise, I'm happy. Like I don't want Sterling. If we get Sterling, that's going to ruin everything.
yeah,
But as of right now, I'm really happy with what I've seen, and I think Ineos has done really good things. And the business deals on top of it with the money makes me happy because for so long we were ran so poorly. So that's great for me in terms of what I would like. I'm very realistic in that top six would be for me where I think we're going to land, but
yeah,
I would like to win Europa. I think that's something I definitely want to win on top of maybe like the FA Cup again or something like that. But I really want us to win Europa. Will it
yeah,
happen? I'm not sure, but those are kind of my expectations. And I need to see something in our style of play from Eric Ten Hag. It's
yeah.
been it's been really really bad football. And so if I can see improvement in that as well, I'd be happy.
I mean, regarding that Ten Hag as well, because I know that at one point, a lot of us thought he was going to go, and obviously he won those trophies. How do you kind of feel about him? Because I think as fans, a lot of people don't like to hear this, but sometimes managers do need time. I mean, you look at Arteta when he came here. It took me a while to be convinced by him. I mean, look at us now to then, but I'm not saying that would be the case with Ten Hag. He might not be the right manager for you guys, but I
Mhm.
suppose at this moment in time, how do you feel about him?
I personally don't think he's the right manager for
Yeah.
us. I do, I mean, appreciative, of course, of the trophies and everything, but when you look at our statistics, when you look at the way we play, it doesn't look good. I mean, last year
Yeah.
we had the worst finish in the Premier Club history. We're breaking all of these negative records when it comes to like our home record and all of these things. And on top of it, his in-game man management,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense. A lot of his substitutions never make any sense. So I'm really trying to like not to get too negative, especially at the beginning of the year. I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand he has a new support system in Ineos. So I'm like, okay, they're getting him players he needs, all of these things, like, a lot of Ajax players, which hopefully will help him be able to find the rhythm that he needs on the pitch. But when you just look at the match versus Brighton, I got PTSD from last year on that game. That game was terrible. And
Yeah.
so again, I'm trying to just take it one game at a time, but for me, I would prefer somebody else.
Yeah, I think it's so tough as well because I always say last season you had the more successful season, but if I'm as an Arsenal fan, if I look at it, I'd rather in the league as well have a more consistent, form, and I think that's what you need. I think if you're able to be more consistent in the league as well as obviously winning the cups, I think that's so important. So I think this season is going to be a big season for him. I'm really interested to sort of see how he does. And unfortunately, I wanted to just touch on the game.
Yes.
Obviously Brighton's a always difficult one because Arsenal have actually had problems with Brighton, in the past, and we've got them next. And I'm just like, it's a game where I think it's always a tough game. Um, but I just wanted to sort of get your thoughts on the game, sort of where you thought it went wrong for United.
Of course, I think the thing that going into the match, I was a little bit more confident, even though they played really well versus Everton. I think their wingers are outstanding, and their chemistry on the offensive side on the attack looks really, really good. But for me, with our back line, signing Mazarari, signing Delay, we have Lisandro Martinez, we have Dallo. I was okay. I was like, we're gonna be fine. We can't score, okay, but at least we can keep Brighton's attack under control, right? We get into the match, and we're not man marking. I don't know what's going on with the back line. And I'm just like, our midfield looks wide open, and that concerns me if it looks like that versus Brighton. And I think for you guys, your midfield will have a little bit more control because you have better
Yeah,
players in your midfield. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
especially in the back line too. I mean, Saliu has been phenomenal in my opinion from what
yeah.
I've seen. And so again, it was just we can do some things well one game, and then we get to the next game and it's a completely different team. And I think that for me was so hard last year because we were so inconsistent. And then we had the substitutions to me weren't too terrible on Saturday, but there was one towards the end. He took Bruno off. Could have been was a little bit
Yeah,
questionable.
yeah, that changed a lot. I've noticed in
Yeah,
the game. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's just I don't know. And then when you add all of that with the midfield and the defense, and then the fact that we cannot score goals. We are desperate to score goals. It's going to make every game so close and so like dramatic because it's just the way things are for us. And so unfortunately, like I was happy for Ahmad, I was happy he scored, but we we're trying to find our way, and that's the way it's going to be right now. And I'm not happy about it. I wish things were different, but that's just
yeah.
the
It
way things
it
are.
it's so tough as well when I mean, a draw wouldn't have been the best result, but you were sort of close to getting an okay result, and then they took it at the end. It's tough as well, especially when you're starting the season. You want to sort of start off in a good way. I mean, I always say last season, whatever happens last season is in the past, and you sort of want to start off on the right way. And obviously, that result wasn't very good. And I suppose my question that I'd ask now is sort of like where you go from here. You've got Liverpool next, and a lot of people have been writing Liverpool off of the league. And
Agree.
I think for me, I expect Arsenal, Man City to go for it a lot more than Liverpool, but I still think Liverpool should be spoken about in that talk of who's going to win the league because they've not really had a busy summer. And I suppose with us and Man City, if we've made a few signings, I just think with Liverpool, they've still got Marcelo, Jota, Diaz. They've still got some incredible players. And I think the game at the weekend, it'll be very tough for you guys, but it reminds me of sort of when Arsenal play Spurs. A form sort of goes out the window, I suppose, because you want to win for pride reasons. You want to win that game for so many reasons. But how are you feeling going into the game? Because, like you said, sometimes you do really well, other times, not so good because you're quite inconsistent at the moment.
hmm it's funny because after the way that we played Saturday, I'm a little bit less confident. But the thing is, even though we were in our worst form in a while last season, Liverpool didn't beat us once. We
Yeah.
either drew or we won the game, right? And so, which is crazy to say. Like even just saying that now is shocking to me.
Yeah.
So that to me gives me some semblance of hope that, okay, maybe we can at least come away with a point. I mean, it is at Old Trafford, and that used to mean something because it used to be kind of a fortress for us, but that hasn't been the case. And so I'm hoping that we can at least come away with a draw at worst, right? If we don't win the match. I think for
Yeah,
me, it's going to be interesting to see who he starts with because I don't believe that Mount and Bruno on the pitch together is the best option for us. And the fact that he went with that 2 games in a row was a little bit concerning, especially because I feel like Xerxes can start at this point and you just move Bruno to the midfield and let Mount come on later on in the match. So
yeah,
it'll just depend on how Eric Ten Hag lines up. And like you said, I think to me, Mo Salah is a very underrated
mm,
player. And
yeah,
I think he offers a lot to Liverpool. And it's somebody I saw the preseason match. I was there when we played Liverpool, and Mo Salah genuinely scared me every time he was going down on the side. So
yeah,
it'll be fun. I'm excited. I always love to play Liverpool. There's the rivalry there.
yeah.
I
It's
just want us to
exciting.
show up. I want us to fight. I don't want it to be another 7-0. There's no way. I think if it gets to that point again, it's going to be very, very bad for
Yeah,
Eric Ten Hag, but we'll see. Like you said, I think people discredit Liverpool and they shouldn't.
yeah. It's so weird to Liverpool because it was weird watching Liverpool without Klopp there. It's quite strange at the moment, but
Mhm.
I think just because you have a new manager doesn't mean that you're going to be bad or you're going to go bad all of a sudden because you watch them, they're still very good.
Mhm.
And if when Arsenal play them, at Anfield or Emirates, I think it's always going to be that rivalry that we've always Arsenal Liverpool have always had before because we're both competitive at the moment as well. It's always a very tough game. But yeah, I think in those games, with that rivalry, with all of that, you've got to win that. I think the performance is so important as well because, like you said, you don't want to be embarrassed. You've got to really show up and fight. Um, I wanted just to say a big hi to a lot of people who have
Yeah.
joined. Big up Wookie Cookie as well.
Mhm.
I don't know, you've got the Scousers for the weekend. Big up LFC Aaron, big up Ashraf. Good to see you in here. Clement as well. Great to see you on here. Good to see you, Antonio, as well. I think United is getting Liverpool the right time. New coach, new system. Getting them early in the season is a big advantage. I think I look at it. I think the bigger games you just want to get out the way first, don't you? Really, because I mean, you're going
Mhm.
to have to face them at some point in the season.
Right. Right. Because I mean, I think later on, of course, the better teams are going to be in their best form, but hopefully that
Yeah,
means you are too. And so I would agree with that. I think playing Liverpool now does work a bit in our favor because things could be a bit rusty and some players don't have as much, they're not as fit, coming back from the summer. So that is in our advantage, but I'm just still not confident in how we
yeah,
play. Like we just react too much. I can't say, oh, this is what United does, because
yeah.
we don't do the same thing every game. So,
Yeah, you kind of don't know, like going into the game, like as someone outside, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what United is going to turn up, but like with Liverpool, you expect them to sort of be at their game, and Mo Salah as well. It's always great
mhm,
player to have. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I just wanted to say big up LFC Aaron and just submitted you gossip. Thank you so much, and please do as well subscribe to Sunshine FC if you're off my channel. But yeah, I wanted to actually just briefly speak a bit about Arsenal's game against Villa because obviously we won our first game against Wolves, but it felt more like it was our performance wasn't great. It was more just about the win on the first game this season. But against Villa, like I did not want to play them that early on because it's quite weird with Arteta and Emery because I think a big chunk of a bit of fans might think Emery's better, but I kind of see with Emery, he's a great coach, but I think him being at Arsenal was maybe a bit of a big step for him. Like I think some managers might be better at a certain sort of level, but I think Villa is a great fit for him. But I think for Arteta, he had to win against that Villa, Emery's Villa, because last season we dropped like 6 points against them, and if you think about it, we could have won the league if we did
yeah,
that last season. But yeah, I think they obviously missed so many chances. Watkins, I mean, I actually forgot I had him on my FPL, so I was just like I was thinking, like, I don't want you to score, but yeah, I think Arsenal comes before the fantasy football. But yeah, it wasn't like our best performance. I think individually, like players like Saliba definitely improved. But the second half came and I felt like we just took our chances. Obviously, Raya had an incredible performance, but I just want to sort of get your thoughts because I know you
Mhm.
mentioned before about how Saliba's doing really well again, and just your overall thoughts on sort of Arsenal getting that win at the weekend?
Yeah, no, this was to me the match. This to me was the match I was looking forward to the most this weekend because we had that whole talking point between the two fan bases on Arteta or Emery, and there was just a lot. There's a lot around the game, a lot of drama, and all of that. And as you mentioned, you dropped points to them last year, and that was huge for you guys because
Yeah,
unfortunately in the Premier League, there's such a small room for error, right? When you're going up against Man City. And you see that in like
yeah,
1 to 2 points off. And so this was a good game for Arsenal. I think it was a good test, especially on the road. And for me, as a rival, I think I was more disappointed in Villa and how they performed in the sense of not being able
yeah.
to finish. I think Ollie Watkins definitely I was shocked with the way that he was
I
unable
know.
to put the ball in the net. It was really shocking to see. But like you said, I think Arsenal started off the game very well. For me, Leandro Trossard is such an amazing sub for you guys. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you as well, is it impossible for him to start? Because a lot of Arsenal fans say he doesn't play the same if he does start. And I just feel like he performs so much better than Martinelli when I watch, And so I was just curious your thoughts.
Yeah, it's quite weird because there's games where Trossard could be starting and you wouldn't know he's playing. And then there's games where he does actually start and he could play for maybe 17 minutes and he does really well. I think when he plays, I think he's quite inconsistent. Like I don't if Trossard plays at the weekend, which I personally think he should be playing because he's not really Martinelli, is lacking that confidence, and the informed player should probably, be on the bench. So yeah, I would obviously play Trossard, but even though the weekend, like, I sort of wouldn't know what Trossard we're gonna get because I think off the bench he is more of an impact sub, and I think that works really well. So that's why I don't have a massive problem Trossard coming off the bench. But I think, like you've said, he's doing so good. Martinelli obviously is struggling to score, and I think at this moment we need to be a lot more clinical. And I know at the moment we've not got a striker, so Trossard,
Mhm.
like Lauren says here, he is probably our most clinical player. I know Saka as well has had a great start to the season, but I think you look at Trossard and he's just going to score whenever he comes on. But it's a
Right.
tough decision for Arteta to make because I just wonder who's going to start at the weekend. Because I suppose Trossard it's against his old team as well, so it'll be a bit strange watching that. But yeah, good point actually here from Wookie Cookies that Brighton fans dislike him, so it could be a great game for him. Yeah, it was quite weird as well because in that game, Trossard, he didn't really celebrate, and his celebration, a lot of people have said, because I honestly don't know what to think, but a lot of people think that his celebration was sort of like to prove a point to Arteta to think why this is why I should be starting. But do you think it's unfair Trossard hasn't started? I suppose at the start of the season, it's a tough decision for Arteta to make, whoever he picks, but Trossard does seem to be the player that has,
Mhm.
that confidence and he's in form at the moment.
Right. I mean, I don't watch
Mm,
Arsenal like fully all the time, right? But I even said on
yeah,
Twitter, I said I think Trossard needs to start based off my
yeah,
opinion. What I've seen, what he brings to your attack, I just think he adds a lot of value to you guys, and he finishes, which is the most important thing sometimes. And so, for me, yes, I
yeah,
think Trossard should start, and I could see his frustration. I don't necessarily know if that's why he didn't celebrate,
yeah,
but I think he should simply for that fact. I just think right now he's the better player than Martinelli. And
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. I think every team and players they go through phases throughout the season. That's just normal.
yeah,
Who knows? Maybe in October Martinelli picks it back up and he's performing
yeah,
again and then it
exactly.
switches. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think right now he's the better player.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, so much changes in football because, I look at someone, I suppose, like a Sinchenko. He was so important to us a few seasons back, and now he isn't because, things move on in football at a time. And I think with Martinelli, I think I wouldn't give up on him yet. I mean, the season has just started, but I think if we were around Christmas time and this was still the case, I would sort of maybe worry a bit about his future. But I think I always take it game by game, even though it's fans get carried away so much, especially for us going for the league. So yeah, I think we've got to really be patient, even though it is very very hard. But I think with Trossard, I think he's like him and Saka, I'd probably say are most clinical players at the
Mhm.
moment. But it's obviously really tough. Got a good question here from Jez. Martinelli has sadly regressed last season. I wonder why. Do you know it's honestly hard to put your finger on why it is. I mean, I don't know if it's down to last season. He obviously played the first half of the season. He did great. He obviously scored against Man City, and he had confidence. And then as the season went, I'm pretty sure he picked up an injury or two, and then when he played, he wasn't. He wasn't himself. I know he's got the pace and he's got all these qualities, but we need to see him score those goals. But I also can't figure out why he's sort of starting to overthink things now because he never used to. He'd always just shoot and go for
Mm.
it. And I don't really know why. Do you think there's a reason why, or do you think players sometimes just have these sort of, sometimes they just lack confidence?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's normal as an athlete. It's just you have
Yeah,
to be able to have the it's easier said than done, but you have to find a way to get back to yourself. I mean, we have that with Rashford. I think Rashford's going
yeah,
through something really, really poor right now mentally, and I don't really know how you I don't know if he has a good support system around him, like with his family or anything to help him get through that. And so for me, like right now, it's so hard because of course Rashford's been, our club. He's been in our club. He's gone through, he's our
yeah,
guy. That's Carrington, and so, but right now he's not performing, and he needs to sit on the bench. And
yeah,
it's just the harsh reality until he can maybe get himself back to where he was. And if he doesn't, then he has to go you
yeah,
know? Because at the end of the day, you want your club to do well, and you can be honest and move forward without being,
yeah.
disrespectful. And I'm not saying that Martinelli's gonna leave, I'm just saying that, this could be his season of, like, he's off. But that happens to everybody. Nobody's on it all the
Yeah.
time.
I think you look at football now, and I think you have to be quite brutal and honest about things because in time, like I said, if Martinelli, maybe halfway through the season is still like this, you would have to speak about other options. Unfortunately, like it's so hard because players that were good for you a few years ago might not be good for you now, and
Mhm,
that's just how football is. Like, I remember Nketiah when he had a really good season when we were going for the league. He was so good then, and then his form dipped off. He couldn't take his chances, and now he's gone. You've just got, I think, for a club, like I suppose with United as well, you're going through a phase where, you need to get back to where you as a club should be. And you do have to make these tough decisions, and it might be very hard as well because I know Rashford he loves United and no one can ever take that away from him. But at this moment in time, his performances just haven't been good enough. And I mean, it's really weird with Rashford because there were a lot of times he has been amazing and he's got so much pace. He's a great player, but then, like you said, at the moment, he's just not performing. So I suppose for this season, would you want him to sort of try and fight for his place and perform better, or do you feel like his future with United is sort of coming to an end?
of course, I want him to fight for his place, but I think the problem right now is who is he gonna fight
Yeah,
for his place with? I
yeah,
feel like Eric Ten Hag just starts him and lets him play for no reason. Like, if Eric Ten Hag was actually like, "Hey, you're not going to start every game until you pick it up," and so
yeah,
he rotates people, then I could agree with you in that sense. But right now, I don't even think that's an option. I think he's just allowed to start and be on the pitch, and then sometimes
yeah,
he'll play the full 90, sometimes he comes off, but he's playing too much for the performance that we're getting. And so I would love for him to have that competition because I think he needs it. If this season continues the way that it is, I do think he needs to go
Yeah.
because that's 2 years in a row where it's just been really bad, and it's not even just not scoring, it's his attitude on the pitch, it's other things that you're seeing, and it makes me sad because, it's a person and, like, you're seeing things in social media videos, and he's just totally
Yeah.
disengaged, like, it doesn't even look like he wants to be there, you know? And that to me is where I'm like, "Okay, if you're not happy here, I I genuinely want you to go somewhere where you think you can be happy and thrive," you know?
It's such a shame because I think with Rashford, I feel like when people are criticising him, I think he's taking it quite personally. I mean, we don't know what he goes through off the pitch, and we don't know if he's getting abuse, which obviously no one should go through. But I feel like he's struggling with the social media side of things, and I think obviously I don't know what he's doing, but I think if I was him, I'd obviously probably not use social media and just focus on the pitch. And if he really wanted to do well for United, he can do anything he sets his mind to. But as well, if he's lacking confidence, that's another thing as well. That could be very
Mhm,
hard to, because I suppose you really want to score. It was like Havertz. I remember when he first came, he would have a few chances, but it just wasn't working. And then I remember Odegaard gave him a penalty, he took it, and then in time his confidence got up. So I think, like you said, there's a good player in him, but you have gave him a lot of time to, see what he can do. And I think this season, if he's not doing it, then I think you would have to move him on. I definitely think this would be the right thing. I've got a question here for you from Woogie Cookie. Do you get the feeling Scott McTominay was sold against Ten Hag's will, and that's a good thing?
I think maybe because in my opinion, I think Erik ten Hag likes Scott McTominay because he saves him. He saved him a lot of games, and, he likes to have that what is the word I'm looking for? He likes to have that, like, security blanket in Scott McTominay, and so I don't think we need to keep him, though. I think there's a lot of players we can still get rid of, but in my humble opinion, yeah, I think he needs to
Yeah.
go, and I think he is staying, you know?
I think he probably will stay, to be fair. I do agree with that. A question here, big up Rennie B, Leicester fan. What's your thoughts about Chilwell to United and Sancho to Chelsea?
No. I think there was talks before Sterling that it was, like, both Sterling and
Yeah.
Chilwell for Sancho, and so, yeah, I don't want any parts of that.
Yeah, I don't really see that working. I just wanted to say big up to Noah as well. Great to see
Yes.
you. Good to see you, Jordan. LFC Aaron said hit the like buttons. Yes, please do that if you are new here as well. Subscribe, and do subscribe to Sunshine FC's channel as well. Um, got a good point here actually from Antonio. The Chelsea United swap better Sancho and Sterling is so weird. Sancho is by far the better, makes no sense on the United side. I think with Sancho, I feel like he's just got to go to the right club, and then I just see
Mhm,
him having a really good career. But I think
mhm.
at United, it's not really worked out, has it? Unfortunately.
No, no, it hasn't, and again, I mean, we obviously don't know what took place, but
Yeah.
I just think Erik ten Hag doesn't wanna use him. I mean, it's weird because he always plays in preseason, and
Yeah.
he plays well in preseason. So I'm like, "Why do you let him play in preseason, and then when you get to the season, he doesn't
Drop
even
him. Yeah.
appear on the bench?" It's so weird.
Yeah, it's so weird, sort of how that happens. And honestly, I wanted to ask you, obviously, a bit about Arsenal in the league because, do you know, for me as a younger fan, a lot of people know this, but I've never seen us win a league. And every season goes by, and I'm thinking, we're going to do it. We're getting so close every time. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the journey of, winning. This amazing team is obviously amazing. Defensively, we're amazing to watch. And um, but obviously last season it felt different. I felt like we'd matured quite a lot. I know at the start of the season we weren't as good, and then as it got on, we gradually got better. And Man City always have that up and down bit where they start off slow, and then it's so annoying. They get better as it goes on. But I felt like our last game of the season, I felt these players really felt quite hurt, and they really had that hunger that they wanted to really do it this time. Do you think that will give them maybe motivation to sort of go on the season and win it?
I would hope so, and
Yeah.
this might sound crazy because, I mean, I am a United fan, and for me, I actually wanted you guys to win last year because with City winning 4,
Yeah,
they
it's a bit
obviously
boring.
trumped
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson's record, right? And I definitely don't want them to win 5. Are you kidding me? So I would prefer an Arsenal win, which sounds crazy because I mean, out of the two, um, I'm obviously a United fan. I think your team is really talented. I really do. I think you guys have a lot of good players. I would agree with you. I think they have to have the focus to lock
Yeah.
in. And this sounds so hard because it's impossible, but you almost have to be like perfect the whole
Yeah.
season. And that's so unfair to say, but it's like
Yeah.
that's the reality of playing in the Premier League with Man City right now, you know? And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to win the games you know you're supposed to win. And I think if your players and Arteta can capitalize on the games and win and get 3 points where you're supposed to, not draw, that'll be the difference. If you can see that as a fan of Arsenal and see, hey, I'm actually seeing us focus. I'm seeing us get 3 points when last year we would have gotten a draw, right? I'm seeing that kind of hunger, then I
Yeah.
think you guys are going to be okay. But if you start to, lose focus, and because there was a moment there, when was it? Was it like right after Christmas? Because you guys had a
Yeah.
really good run there. And then there was this point like right after Christmas where you just lost it for a second, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I've forgotten when this was, but I think before the players had a break and they went to Dubai,
Yeah.
this must have been around the time we had Liverpool in the FA Cup or a cup thing, and we were just so awful. Like it was the final third, finishing we couldn't do. But we went through really bad. You know, I always say what happens in Dubai stays in Dubai, but I'm
Yeah.
not bothered what happened. But I think we just sort of changed. It was very weird because last season I was thinking, I hope the season before it wasn't just one season where we went for the league. I want us to do it over and over again. And obviously, I'm happy we went for the league last season, but it was quite weird because we did start off quite won a few games, but then we went in a little dip against Fulham and all of that. Yeah, Wiki Cookie just after the Liverpool FA Cup game, and then we sort of picked ourselves back up. It was I don't honestly know what changed that. It's just Antonio says, in December, we lost back to back games to West Ham at home,
Mhm.
Fulham away. We
Mhm.
lost the league in December. Yeah, it's very weird because when we lost to Fulham, I was like, we've lost the league. But then things came back and we had our hope we could actually do it again because I don't know what happened with Liverpool or Man City, but Man City probably lost a few points, which meant we were back in the title race. But I do agree with Antonio. I mean, I know we lost to Villa, but I do think we lost the league really against Fulham. I think Villa were obviously, we're going for the league at that the top four at that point. So I think with Villa, it was an understandable, loss, even though I was annoyed at the time.
Yeah.
But I always said we lost the league when we lost to Fulham because I'm pretty sure
And that's a
they.
game you should have won,
I know
you
it. Like
know?
on paper, we should be
Yeah, on
beating.
paper.
Yeah, but
Right.
then when it happens, obviously we didn't do it. But that was that game. I'm pretty sure. I think they had a player sent off as well, and it's like that we needed to
Mm.
make the most of that, and we didn't. So it's really tough because there's so many what ifs when you look back on things. But that's why I'm happy with the Villa game because I feel like us winning that is sort of showing that we'll learn from our mistakes from last season. And I think with Fulham as well, it'll be weird. Obviously, Smith Rowe there, a few of the Arsenal
Mhm,
players there,
mhm.
but we've just got to win these games. And yeah, it's hard because I know we've got Man City as well, Spurs, and like you said with Liverpool, you want to get these out of the way because I know Man City at
Mhm.
the start of the season aren't always great. I know at the moment they've done really well though, so
And
it's
I
never
think
a good
just
time.
to ask, with Man City, I mean, I don't know if you've watched him a bit, but Savinho looks really good. And then
Yeah,
of course, they've got Gundogan back, right? Gundogan back. Does that
yeah.
like, are you nervous about that?
I really like him a lot.
Yeah.
If do you know when he left, I would have loved him at Arsenal, but I think I'm more focused on what we can do. Like, do you know what it is? If we had brought a striker in, I know we still can, and there's still a possibility.
Mhm.
I would tell you with confidence we're going to win the league, but because we've not got that striker, there's a part of me that's a bit I'm just not sure we can do it, if I'm being honest. I think the league, it's so tough, but I know the players will want to win the league, so I think it's sort of about what we're doing as well. If you know, every season you have to improve, you've got to bring in players in to, like you said, we have to be perfect with Man City because they're just too good. Like it's so hard
No.
competing with them. Yeah, it's obviously it's not a great thing. It doesn't help. I'd rather them have not done that.
Right.
But yeah, I think as a fan, I think we've got to focus on what we're doing. And yeah, it's obviously a tough one. I wanted to a question here for you, which I think is quite a nice question. I'm new to the channel, but I'm just curious. How did Sunshine become a Man United fan?
Yes. It was Ronaldo.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
Ronaldo was there, and I kind of stayed, obviously. So
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love everyone's story is always so different about
yeah.
that. So yeah, um, Clement says we have to up our game significantly before Tottenham and Man City in the next 2 weeks after Brighton. Yeah, the Brighton one's always a tough one. It's always a game where,
Is
I
that
mean,
is that at home or away?
we're at home, but it's
Okay.
still. I mean, if we were at Brighton, I'd still feel a bit on edge. But they've obviously, do you know, recent seasons we've actually done okay. But I know Welbeck as well. I love Welbeck, but not against when he's playing against us. Obviously not. But
He
yeah,
won't score against you, I'm sure, but he'll score
oh,
against us.
do you know what? He always scores against you guys.
I know.
I know it's. Do you know what? I really liked Welbeck at Arsenal.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think United he does. I've noticed that he always does score a lot of goals. Sunshine, who do you?
Nice.
I know it's always funny. He never scores against us. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he did score, but I'm just really hoping that he doesn't. Right now,
Mhm.
we haven't done enough in the window to win the league. Yeah, I get that. Do you think? I mean, I know with our two signings that we've made, it's obviously really good signings, but if we don't sign a striker, do you think we could still win the league, or do you think signing a striker will obviously help us a lot more?
I don't know. I think I saw this today. I think Tony was somewhat rumored linked to you guys this morning from
Yeah,
what I saw. If you guys signed Tony, I'm gonna let you right now. I think you have a really good shot.
yeah,
A really good shot. You need that clinical finisher. You do. If you don't have a striker, I think it would be a lot more difficult for you guys to win the league.
yeah.
I mean, that's just the facts. And I think because Man City does obviously have Holland and they have these people who can score, it's not setting you guys up for success.
Yeah, I agree because I do like Tony. I mean, I'm not saying that he would be our player for like next 5 years or the next few years,
Mhm.
but I think if you're asking me at this moment in time, I think he could definitely help us win the league. I think he could sort of elevate us in a way because there will be games this season where we just need to be clinical and some of our players are just not the best at taking their chances. But I know obviously we have Saka, we have Trossard, we have so many players, Havertz as well, but I think having a striker would I'd feel a lot more confident about winning the league, but it's
I think
yeah,
it could take pressure off these players as well
yeah,
because I feel like Saka, Odegaard, Havertz, they have so much pressure. I have to score, I have to score, I have to score, right? And I think sometimes mentally that takes a toll on them. So if they could have that help, it might free them up to maybe score more because they're not so
yeah.
focused on how they have to get those goals in, you know?
I think sometimes, like, when they'll know as a team they're under pressure, they need to score. But I think if they're not under pressure and it becomes easy, they probably will score it and enjoy it
Yeah.
more because they're sort of having to do a job of sort of the striker role in a way. I mean,
Mhm.
Havertz, obviously, I got a question here. Havertz has done quite good so far. I mean, I thought the game at the weekend he was a bit quiet, but I do
Mhm.
think overall I think he's a very good player. I mean, I'm not sure he would score 20 goals in the league, if I'm being honest. I reckon it's hard because I know there's the Champions League as well, but I reckon in the league, I think he could get maybe 15. I don't think he could get 20, but it does depend on how often he plays. But do you reckon Havertz could get 20 in the league, or do you think it's a bit of a tough one for him?
Yeah, I don't think that I think he could get close, like
Yeah.
16, 17, but I don't think that he could get 20, no. No.
Yeah, I think in other competitions, like in the Champions League, I reckon he could do that. But I think that's I don't really see that happening. And I suppose as well, if we bring in a striker, he might not play as much. I mean, I still think Havertz should actually play because he's not done anything to be on the bench. But I do
Mhm.
think there's certain games that we struggle with, like when we go to Everton away last season, that game was really interesting because it was looking like it was gonna go 0-0, and then Trossard comes on and scores. He's like our hero. He always saves us,
Yes.
honestly. And
He really is.
he's like whenever he comes on, honestly, he's like what we need. So that's the thing about starting him. I'm always unsure because I think if Martinelli came off the bench, I don't think he would sort of have the impact that Trossard would have. So we
Mhm.
sort of need like two Trossards in the team. And big up Don.
Right.
He will get 16 in the league. That's pushing. Big up yourself. The Not podcast
Hey.
locked in. Big up to you both. Great to see you here. I believe Havertz will get 15 goals. Yeah, I think 15, like we said, is probably something that we can expect. Who do Arsenal have as a nine with Jesus out if Havertz is injured? A good question. I just, I don't think we have anyone. Um,
But
yeah,
again, that's another issue that I think Arsenal had last year, right? Is they didn't have the
yeah,
good depth that Man City had. I mean, obviously every single one of their players is talented, but they had good squad depth. Whereas you guys, if Trossard gets hurt, if Saka gets hurt, if
yeah.
God, hopefully this doesn't happen. But if all those players get hurt, what do you have?
Yeah, that's the thing, because I always say as well, Declan Rice is a good example because if he got injured and he was out for maybe 2 months or something, we are in big trouble. And I know the start of the season he's not really been himself, and I think a lot of it is down to the fact he's played a lot in the Euros, he's exhausted. But
Hmm.
I feel like if he was out of the team, then our midfield might look average. Partey is very good when he's at his best and not injured. Jorginho, I always say, he's great at controlling that midfield, but Rice is like the glue that sort of sticks the team together in a way. So I think that's the problem we're having. So we've got to sort of hope and pray things go our way. It's like Rodri, if he's injured for Man City, they're a different side. Like I
Hmm.
do think that was one reason why we did beat them last season because Rodri, I think he had like a yellow card suspension or something and he was out. So that did give us a better chance to beat them. So Trossard is the other option at 9. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's sort of the one you'd have to pick, but I hope Jesus' injury isn't actually too
Hmm.
serious. I've heard it's not really anything to sort of worry about, which is good. But it's
That is
sort of
good.
like the season started again. He's injured, and it's a bit annoying. But Havertz just play one good season, relax. Our left wing isn't a problem. We can rely on Martinelli, and Arteta can rely on Trossard. I mean, Martinelli, we do really hope his confidence does definitely come back. I'm really hopeful because he's such a great player, but players do, lack that confidence, and hopefully his form will come back.
Hmm.
But I've really enjoyed chatting with you today. And
Yes.
before we do wrap the show up, I just thought you could sort of tell people about your channel. I know you do TikTok as well, but yeah, just tell
Hmm.
people where they can find you and sort of what sort of stuff you do.
Yes. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, and I hope that we can talk again soon. For sure,
Definitely, I've
maybe when
enjoyed
we
it.
play each other.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but be sure to like and subscribe to Sophie as well. Awesome, awesome. And yeah, I'm Sunshine FC everywhere. So Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you can find me there, TikTok. And yeah, just watch me talk about Manchester United and football in general. So
Yeah, I love that. So please do go and check her out because she does amazing stuff online. But a big thank you to all of you as well in the comments
yes,
because this show has been so, so much fun. We'll definitely
yes.
do it again as well throughout the season because we'll play each other, which would be so much fun, I suppose. That would be quite. Do you know what? United and Arsenal is always a game that I absolutely love because I
Yeah.
love. As fans, we know it's a massive game,
Hmm.
so yeah, I absolutely love that. And big thank you to Donna as well. Thank you so much. Big up Antonio.
Big
Thank you
up,
so much,
Antonio.
Christopher. So glad you enjoyed the show. But yeah, guys, before you go, don't forget to do the usual subscribe, like this video, go over as well to subscribe to Sunshine's channel. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.
Bye.